So now we're going to talk about some of the renewable energy sources that humans have discovered throughout history. Now let's take a look at the first one we have. Nuclear energy. And nuclear energy is generated in nuclear reactors where a process called fission is happening. And fission is very important because often the examiner asks about this and the definition of fission, and you have to know it off by heart. So fission is basically the process where a neutron hits a uranium atom, and you have to know this, uranium-235. This causes the uranium atom to split and form small other atoms, plus very high amounts of energy. Okay, so let's say this one more time. So fission is the process where a neutron hits an atom, generating many small atoms plus very high amounts of energy. Now let's take a look at the advantages and disadvantages of that, because everything comes at a cost. Although it generates very high amounts of energy, but there are some disadvantages. Well, let's take a look. Since nuclear energy is very dangerous to handle, some accidents may happen like earthquakes, and this would generate many problems as the chemicals would leak into the ground, and this would cause a huge explosion, and nuclear waste stay there for as many as hundreds and hundreds of years. So and it would affect generation after generation, so it's very, very dangerous. Okay, now let's take a look at hydroelectric power. And hydroelectric power is the energy generated from falling water, like in falls and stuff like that. So humans build dams plus turbines to store the energy from the falling water. Now, the advantages of that is that it's cheap because water is readily available, but at the same time, areas have to be evacuated and residents have to move in order to build those dams. So communities moved, and plus it requires flooded valleys. Okay. Now let's take a look at biogas and biomass. Well, it's the energy generated from burning animal waste and plants and then pressing out the oils from them and then fermenting the product. Well, this is available for us because there are so many animal waste and dead animals and dead plants, so we can use this. It's readily available. And the disadvantage of that is because we have to burn those waste and those animals. Burning them generates high amounts of CO2, and CO2 is the gas responsible for the greenhouse effect, and this contributes to global warming. So you can get really everything. Now let's take a look at hydrogen as a fuel, and this one is very important because a lot of countries now are researching this and they're seriously thinking about converting to hydrogen fuel. Now let's see why are they thinking about that in the first place. Well, hydrogen is very clean, as in terms of when it burns in air, it generates water. So see how clean that is? Only water is generated. Okay, and also hydrogen is available in unlimited supply through electrolysis of water. through electrolysis. Okay, and you guys are not responsible for the process itself, but you're responsible for the reactions happening at the cathode and the anode. So the reaction at the cathode is oxygen gas plus 2 H2O liquid plus 4 electrons to give 4 hydroxide ions. And the reaction at the anode is hydrogen gas plus 2 hydroxide ions to give 2 H2O plus 2 electrons. So you guys are only responsible for those reactions, but not the process itself. Okay? So now let's take a look at the advantages and the disadvantages of that. Well, the advantages include that it's very clean, since when it combusted in air, it only generates water, so it's very clean. And we said that there is unlimited supply. Okay. Now, what are the disadvantages? Well, the disadvantages is that it's very costly. The process of the electrolysis itself is very costly to handle, and therefore this is the only disadvantage for hydrogen fuel. Now, let's recap. We talked about the different sources of renewable energy, and they were nuclear energy, hydroelectric energy, and biomass and biogas, and finally hydrogen. And we said that nuclear energy generates very high amounts of energy, but at the same time it's very dangerous to handle. Okay? Now, hydroelectric power is very cheap because it's readily available for us, but at the same time communities have to be moved. Now, biogas and biomass, we said that when animal waste and plants are burned, they generate some energy, but at the same time burning those wastes generates very high amounts of CO2, which contributes to global warming. Now finally, we talked about hydrogen, and we said hydrogen is a very clean source of energy, since when combusted in air it only generates water, and it's available in unlimited supply through electrolysis of water also. And finally, we said that you guys are only responsible for the reactions, but not the process of the electrolysis itself. And that's that. We're done with this video. I hope this was clear for you guys, and stay tuned. In the next video we're gonna talk about bond energies, and we're gonna solve examples from past papers. So good luck.